Today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in Atlantis Rising. But before I get to that, I want to give a quick shout out to MeepleSource for making this awesome scythe shirt. This is an Albion shirt that I got. It's kind of an Irish green, a Scottish green, and this nice gold logo on the front. I actually got 3 shirts. I got one for, I'm blanking on one of the factions, and then I got one for Nordic, because I like the blue. I like greens and blues. So yeah, anyway, if you're interested in these shirts, I'll put a link below in case you want a Scythe faction shirt. It doesn't benefit me at all. I don't get any royalties from it. I bought the shirt from MeepleSource and I like it. I think it's pretty cool. So the game I want to talk about today is actually on Kickstarter right now, but I got to play a prototype of it at Geekway to the West back in May. And I had a lot of fun with it. It's a cooperative game called Atlantis Rising. Again, I'll put a link to the Kickstarter below. And they didn't ask me to make this video, but I really had a good time playing the game, and I didn't want to talk about it then because I knew they were going to do a Kickstarter later, so I figured I'd talk about it today. It's a cooperative worker placement game, and this is actually the really cool mechanism about it. That it is a cooperative and real-time, simultaneous action worker placement game. So these elements work together really, really well. So I played plenty of worker placement games. I don't think I've ever played a cooperative worker placement game. There are a few out there, but I definitely don't think I played a cooperative real-time worker placement game. So basically, you are on Atlantis, and the waters are rising. So every turn, kind of pandemic style, you're going to draw some cards, and the waters are going to rise in certain locations. And each of these locations, you can see these kind of these branches, are different types of actions, and the best actions are the closest to the water. So on your turn, it's kind of each round, players play simultaneously. You place workers wherever you want on each of these branches, and there's this nice kind of push your luck element because you can choose to put your workers at the very edge of the water, but if you do, there's the risk that this part of the island will get flooded before you even have the chance to take the action. And so you can mitigate that risk by putting the workers up here instead on less valuable actions, like where the resource conversion isn't as good. You can kind of see this over here. The resource conversion isn't as good, closer to the highest point on the island, but near to the water, the resource conversion is great. So I really like this push your luck element, but all of these also have limited workers placement spots, and this is where the cooperation and collaboration come in. So if you can imagine this, imagine that you have a bunch of workers and you're working together with other players, and in real time you just say, go, let's figure out where to put the workers. And I found that it completely eliminated any quarterbacking. Because we all had things that we needed to do, and we each had clear objectives as to what we needed to do, and so we're just placing workers in real time, putting them out there, and that's where the collaboration starts to happen. Because you might see, okay, shoot, I need to go there, and someone else needs to go there too, or you have too many workers on a spot, you have to pull it back, and that's where you start talking about it. You say, I really need this right now. Can you wait? Or someone else might need it with a higher priority, and you might start talking about your global goals. You might say, okay, I can actually do this better than you. Why don't you focus on something else? Or this is less risky for me. Why don't you do that? I really, really loved the level of collaboration and communication that happened during this simultaneous worker placement. It wasn't hectic because it wasn't, I say real time, it's simultaneous because there wasn't a timer. And so it wasn't hectic. We could take as long as we wanted during that phase. But instead, it was collaborative. It felt like we were working as a team, a real team. And it also felt a little bit like real life in that we were allocating limited resources in real life. Like it really felt like I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like we were representing these workers that were like jostling to get into this limited space. And somebody's backing away and somebody's saying, I really need to be here. So I don't even know if the game really intended for us to feel that way, but I felt like I was in the position of the meeples trying to get those positions. So I love when a game is that immersive, when I can really feel like I'm there on the island jostling for position as it sinks around me. Yeah, that's Atlantis Rising. That's my favorite mechanism. I love the idea of a cooperative worker placement game, especially with the simultaneous placement. And I'm curious to see if there are other games like this in the future, because it's a really cool model for a cooperative game. All right, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. If you have other cooperative, if you can think of any other cooperative worker placement games, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Or if you've played Atlantis Rising, there was a previous edition, or maybe you've played the prototype of the new edition. I'd love to hear your thoughts about your favorite mechanism in this game as well. Thanks.